Hey guys, TRScientist here, and today I am back for day number 23 of r/RegularRevenge. That joke is still going to be going until the very end of this series, which is going to be 5 months worth still. Oh my gosh, still got 5 months of this. Anyways, I got 3 stories lined up for today, and let's just get into them. I don't even know what's going to happen. Stuff with this one. Get a cheaper babysitter. I was told to post this here. Not my last job, but the one before that went through a period wherein they required I wear a uniform. Basically, it was a dark blue button-up or Oxford style. I ended up with 4 of the button-up and 3 of the Oxfords. Also, being in IT, I thought I'd look more professional in khakis. Khakis? Yeah. I bet you can tell the location of this tale. I was in Wally World looking at the vending machine in the entryway when a woman came storming in past me, screaming at the poor door greeter that she was in a hurry, was paying someone to watch her kid, and needed a something fast. I don't remember what. Some cooking appliance that I'm not familiar with. I finally pick my drink, get my can, and head to my groceries. A woman sees me and walks over, waving and snapping and yelling to get my attention. This leads only to me looking at her like she was a nutter and raising one eyebrow. I need thing. I'm in a hurry since I'm paying that thief of a neighbor every half hour to watch my kid. So hurry up and get one for me. Someone thought Wal-Mart was a full-service shop. I explained somewhat rudely that I don't work there. I'm not sorry if you come stomping up to me, yelling and waving and making me consider punching you in the face, a good way to not get hurt. I'm not a civil being. Don't try that game. You kids today hate working. Go get me thing right this minute, or I will report you to management. Oh no, not management. Please, miss, don't report me. I'll go grab it right now. Apparently, she missed the sarcasm dripping from the words and waved me away. I ran off like I was in a hurry into the home appliances aisle, out the other side, down to the grocery side of the store. Grabbed a shopping cart and proceeded to get my groceries. Every 10 to 15 minutes, I'd run back over without the cart to ensure her I was looking and that it might be in the back somewhere. The magical in the back seemed to please her. I kept this going for the 2 hours it took me to get all my food. Cold stuff last, naturally. Then went to buy it, at the register right near her. I made it a point to wave and click and snap to get her attention. She exploded and began screaming, cussing, and stomping over, demanding to know what I was doing shopping instead of helping her. The poor cashier didn't know what to do and just set her light to flashing and got the hell out of there. I told you, I am not an employee here. I'm trying to get my food and you've interrupted that process. Go away. Get me a manager. I'm going to have you fired and I'm going to have your boss fired. Tell you what, I'll call my boss. I want them here right now. A manager of some sort was talking to the cashier. One of the women who stands up front at the little not register thing. I called Mike, my boss at the repair shop, and explained I had an angry woman wanting to talk to him. Even without speakerphone, she heard him say, "Tell her to fuck off then," and hang up. That made everything better. Finally, one of the actual managers came up and tried calming the situation. The woman tried to explain that I did not work there. Her harassing me was causing a scene, and he would happily take her to his office, bend over backward, and let her ream him verbally if it helped. Apparently it wouldn't, as she proceeded to call him a liar and slapped him hard enough to knock his glasses off. Oh great, physical abuse. Now she was yelling at him. He was screaming at her and into his radio, and a cop was heading their way. I finally got the cashier to come back and begin ringing me up. All while the cop was arresting the woman for assault, I sat there apologizing to the girl about it all. The manager finally asked me why the woman was so mad at me, and I just told him she thought I worked there. I told her I didn't, and she assumed I was lying and apparently was waiting on me to get something for her. The cop had a partner, I guess, show up, and he took the statement from me outside, wherein I told him the whole story. Got a slight chuckle, then a disapproving, I could arrest you for disorderly conduct, right? By this point, my ice cream was feeling pretty sloshy, so I went back in to get it replaced. The manager again asked me if I did anything to antagonize the woman. Said no. The door greeter was actually backed up my story by verifying that I did tell the woman I wasn't an employee and got friended by doing so. Got my new ice cream, went home, made tacos for dinner, and hoped I never saw that woman again. Cross post from r/I don't work here lady. Really an interesting subreddit where it's just people being like, I don't work here, and yet the person is just like, no, you do. You now work here. You now have to serve me. And if I don't, you're going to get fired from your job. Cut me off, brake check me. Do not pass go. Go to jail for reckless driving. I was driving a big rig with civilian plates across town to my friend's shop so it can be broken down and overhauled. The truck has a rev limiter, so it tops out at 60 miles per hour, and the highway speed is 65, so obviously it's a right laner. I was pretty much cruising at max speed coming up on an interchange. Traffic was light, so I had no problems all night until this interchange came up. In my mirror, I saw a fast-moving set of lights headed behind me, then to my left, then directly in front of me. By this time, there was less than 20 or 30 yards of space between my truck and the wall, and the dipshit cuts me off. He slams his brakes to try and squeeze in the invisible gap. I missed hitting him, and he managed to miss the exit and clipped the wall hard enough to see sparks. I pulled over and by then had radioed for help. The driver and two passengers got out and started walking to my truck. I opened the door but never stepped off the cab and noticed they're peeved and immediately started accusing me of making them crash. I was screwed. I didn't have a dash cam on this truck since it was retired and it was on civilian tags. In the distance I spotted the disco cruiser heading our way and alerted the idiots yelling at me. They started panicking and get back to their car. First cop that showed up was a bike cop. We each gave our stories, and while he's interviewing the passengers, two more showed up. Second cop didn't know what was going on and was talking to the first cop. Both cops were grilling me as to why I had civilian plates and not tractor trailer tags. While this was going on, Cop 3 showed up and immediately rushed the driver and handcuffed him. Cop 1, 2, and 3 go into a huddle, and Cop 1 comes to me and tells me that they were kids out on a joyride with a car they stole from a casino valet. I was pretty much sent on my way when they found out it was legal to have civilian plates on a semi-truck. Yeah, you just go to jail not only for reckless driving, but also stealing a car. How did you even steal the car from the valet? I would love to see that scene, like Ferris Bueller Days Off or something like that. I would imagine them doing something like that with the car. But no, brake checking. Brake checking is such a dumb thing. It's like, this is another cross post with such idiots in cars. I mean, how can people be so dumb? Okay, last story, and it's a hell of a title. Dad rigged Mum's car to stop car thieves, and Grandpa scares thieves off with a shotgun when they try to reclaim the stolen car. When I posted my story a day or two ago about how my dad helped me get revenge on my school bully, oh, okay, we'll have to come to this story for the next. Oh wait, yeah, we'll have to go to that story next time. Many of you asked me to thank my dad, so I did. He was tickled pink, and thanks all of you profusely. I decided to ask him if he had any short stories of revenge he got on people personally, just for fun. And he shared this story that I figured you guys would like. For some context, Dad grew up in what is now the Rust Belt back when the Rust was starting to form, so 50s or 70s. So it was a Wild West scenario, especially in his blue-collar town. People were leaving to find better jobs, and the big factories were beginning to downsize/shut down. His hometown quickly gained a reputation as a dangerous place to live. This came true after the city didn't have enough money to pay the police force to work 7 days a week. So the police force would work Monday through Friday and had the weekend off. If you're thinking this led to a dangerous situation, you are absolutely right. Dad told me stories about how his neighbours would be broken into while said homeowners were home, would steal all their stuff and then leave because they knew the cops weren't coming. My grandparents were so worried that Grandpa, a Korean vet, went out and bought a couple of shotguns, one of which was a sawed-off shotgun, and made sure he had plenty of ammo for both the shotguns and his service revolver. By this time, Dad had just finished his last year of college and was now married to my mum and living in the state's largest city, about 2 to 3 hours away from his hometown. Mum had wanted a '64 cherry red Ford Mustang convertible ever since she was a little girl. As a belated wedding present for her, Dad went out, found a broken down Ford Mustang convertible in a junkyard, and fixed up the convertible for her for maybe $200, about $700 today, adjusted for inflation. Mum was so happy when she got the car that I got lucky that night, as Dad put it, and would brag about her husband spoiling her. Anyway, during this time, Dad's youngest sister, Aunt Jody, had graduated high school, married her high school sweetheart, and moved out to be with her new husband. So Grandma and Grandpa decided now was a good time to get out of town and downsize. They asked my parents to come to help them pack and move, something Dad was happy to do as he would get to see his school friends and hang out with them. Unfortunately, a couple of days before Dad was supposed to go and help, his car broke down and it needed some major repairs. He had to order some parts that would take a while to arrive. They had no choice but to use Mum's car. Mum and Dad was nervous about this because that car, while not in mint condition, looked really good and was a prime target for car thieves. Doubly so because my parents would be spending the weekend when there'd be no police on duty. However, Dad was a problem solver, and during the drive he came up with his plan to basically make the car retrievable in case of theft. Once my parents arrived in the hometown, Dad's first step was to call up his buddies from school, who had all become engineers, welders, or mechanics, and ask them for help. In exchange, they got some beers and some of my mum's delicious cooking. They agreed to help. Dad also got Grandpa involved as well, just in case. The first thing was to weld a cap on one end of the 8-inch diameter pipe that was about 2.5 feet long. They then filled the tube with white fluorescent paint. Once the pipe was loaded with paint, they soldered the bottom of a tin can to the open end of the pipe. They attached the cube to the undercarriage right by the trunk. Finally, they punched a nail to the tin into the tin closing, tied a nail with a bit of fishing line, and tied the other end of said fishing line to the wheel rim. Here's how it would work. When the unlucky thieves would take off, the wheel would spin, pulling out the nail. Paint would then drip out of the hole made by the nail at a slow pace because the hole was small and the tube loaded with paint. They planned to follow the trail until they found the car and bring it back. Unless you were looking at the undercarriage itself and could see the full apparatus, you wouldn't really see the trap. If you did, unless you're really skilled with cars, you'd think the pipe was part of the car workings. They set the car out at 4:30 p.m. on Friday afternoon. The cops would be off by 6 and waited, everyone taking shifts through the night so as to alert everyone when the car was taken. Nothing happened Friday night. Saturday came and went with no troubles either. Then at 1 a.m. on Sunday night, Mum heard the unmistakable sound of glass breaking and alerted everyone. By the time they got out there, the car was gone, and a long trail of paint was leading them in the right direction. Dad and his two buddies, let's call them Sam and Tom, got into Sam's car, and they went after the Mustang. It was during this they realized that this might not have been a smart idea. 1, they had gone out without weapons. 2, the paint could be easily smeared by another car passing, creating a false trail. And 3, they had to stay close but not too close, lest the car nappers get suspicious. Fortunately, either the thieves were too cocky or too stupid. Dad believes it was a combination. Dad, Sam, and Tom had only had to follow the car for 15 or so minutes until it pulled into a driveway of a decent-looking home. Just to be safe, the trio waited maybe 30 minutes until the thieves went inside the house and the lights shut off. The car window was busted. They could easily replace it, and the thieves had hot-wired the car. Tom plugged the hole in the tube to keep paint from leaking out further and creating a trail. And Dad, using his keys, turned the car on and followed Tom and Sam home. Well, apparently the thieves must have heard them leaving, because the next thing Dad, Tom, and Sam knew, they were being chased by someone. And since there were no speed traps, Dad and Sam had the pedal to the metal, praying that they would not T-bone someone while running red lights and stop signs, making hairpin turns that almost flipped them over. As I said, this town was the 70s version of the Wild West. By some miracle, all 3 got back to my grandparents' house without hurting anyone else or themselves, the thieves still hot on their heels. Dad and Sam honked their horns to alert Grandpa as the thieves pulled up. Well, the thieves got out of their car, and Dad felt his heart race as he saw at least one of them had a baseball bat and a knife. And here comes Grandpa, holding a sawed-off shotgun at the ready. Here's an important thing to note about Grandpa. He was 6.5 feet tall, 300 pounds of mostly muscle, and has never raised his voice to anyone, especially when he was angry. Now, Grandpa was a big cuddly teddy bear type to us grandkids growing up, but upon your first meeting him, you might not think he was a sweetheart. The car feed stopped intimidating Dad, Tom, and Sam and stared at Grandpa. The eyes were as big as saucers and the mouths agape. I'm going to give you boys to the count of 3 to get the hell out of here and never come back, Grandpa said in a low, soft, and clear voice. Dad winced when he heard Grandpa say that. The few times he ever got smacked by Grandpa was when Grandpa warned him he would count to 3 and Dad wouldn't listen. Grandpa meant business. Grandpa didn't even get to the count of 2. The thieves would jump back into their car and must have broken the sound barrier due to how fast they were driving. By the middle of the week, my grandparents were all packed up and the car window on the convertible had been replaced, so everyone went home safe, free, and had all their cars. Best Grandpa ever. Just like, I will shoot you with this sawed-off shotgun. And it's like, count of 3 and you'll be dead. And all the thieves just gone. Oh my god. That's what you get for trying to be a thief. You're gonna get chased away. like, obviously, like, afterwards you're gonna report them, right? Like, you do the address of the thieves, so you could easily just be like, yeah, well, it was Sunday night, so, like, you you leave one person. It's an unsafe decision, but you leave one person behind to camp out the house and make sure you get the address. So then Monday morning, you could tell them exactly what happened, and then just absolutely just get them arrested for stealing a car. I feel like the community needs their own, like, neighborhood watch system in place, sort of like Watchmen. I haven't seen Watchmen, so don't judge me if I use that as an example. But I'm really curious about this story now. But I'm going to end this episode here. Links will be in the description to my main channel and also the channel that you're on right now. This one with links to the playlist in the last episode. Go check them out. There's a lot of content. Like, it's going to be like several hundreds worth of episodes by the time this whole series ends. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know when the next video comes out. A ding, a ding. Mad Scientist out.